The great Christian illusion, a faith turned into a business. Brothers and sisters, let us take a moment to see the world without the glitter, without the wrapping, without the noise that has blinded generations. Let us look at what religion became, what Christmas became, what the institutions behind them became. Because somewhere along the journey of history, a message born in humility was taken, reshaped, decorated, monetized, defended, and finally sold back to humanity as tradition. Christianity, once carried by a man who owned nothing and sold nothing, transformed into one of the wealthiest, most influential systems ever created. A faith that began in simplicity now moves billions of dollars every year, and nowhere is the truth of this transformation clearer than in what the world calls Christmas. People speak of December 25 as if it came from Scripture, as if Jesus was born on that day, as if heaven stamped it into the sky for all time. But Jesus was not born on December 25. The Bible never said it. The early followers of Jesus never celebrated it. This date was taken from Roman festivals that worshiped the sun. Festivals filled with feasting, lights, gift-giving, drunkenness, and rituals that had nothing to do with God. When Christianity became the empire's religion, it was easier to keep the celebration and change the name. So the empire stamped a new label on an old tradition, and over centuries, people forgot where it came from. Then Christmas changed again. It evolved from a blended ritual into a global shopping season. A season controlled by corporations, advertisers, and industries that depend on its profit. A season built on pressure, on expectation, on credit card debt, on the belief that love must be proven with money. People buy gifts that sit unused, toys forgotten, clothes never worn, objects thrown away within weeks while the poor sit outside in cold streets hoping for a meal. Christmas was supposed to remind people of God. It was supposed to awaken compassion. Yet millions celebrated without a single thought of Jesus. Without prayer, without reflection, without faith. For many, Jesus is not part of Christmas at all. Instead, the world worships a character invented by writers and perfected by advertisers. A mascot named Santa Claus who never appeared in any scripture. The modern Santa in the red suit, glowing cheeks, and cheerful smile was shaped by companies and immortalized by Coca-Cola to sell products and encourage consumption. A holiday supposedly dedicated to a spiritual teacher is led by a character whose only purpose is to inspire spending. Children grow up believing in a myth created to benefit corporations, not their souls. Society measures love with receipts, not with compassion. People decorate their homes with lights while ignoring the darkness that millions live in. And then we ask ourselves why the world feels lost. But this truth is only one layer. Because beyond the lights, beyond the sales, beyond the rituals, there stands a structure so wealthy, so powerful, so influential that it defies everything its own scriptures teach. The Vatican, the richest religious institution on earth. A city built with gold while children in other countries starve before they learn to walk. A fortress filled with art worth billions, walls carved in marble, ceilings painted by masters, vaults filled with treasures collected over centuries, billions in real estate, billions in investments, billions in banking, billions in profit, a kingdom hidden behind the language of faith. Walk through the Vatican and you see wealth beyond imagination. But ask yourself, where in those halls is the message of the man who lived with nothing? Where is humility in a palace? Where is compassion in golden chalices? Where is sacrifice inside a city of endless luxury? How can a religious empire possess this much while people die with nothing? How can a place claim to follow a poor prophet while swimming in a river of riches? People all over the world pray for food, while inside those walls are treasures that could feed nations. People beg for clean water while fountains overflow in courtyards. Families collapse under poverty, while paintings worth a fortune hang untouched. If even a fraction of this wealth were used to uplift the poor, entire regions of the world would be transformed overnight. But that is not what empires do. Empires protect their wealth. Empires secure their power. Empires survive by keeping people obedient, hopeful, guilty, fearful, and dependent. And the Vatican did not survive for centuries through poverty and humility. It survived through structure, influence, and the ability to shape nations, kings, governments, and cultures. This was never simply a house of worship. It became a command center, a sovereign state, a political power, a financial network, a global empire. Religion was the language, but control was the purpose. Faith was the doorway, but influence was the architecture behind it. And people followed not because they understood the truth, but because they were taught never to question it. Meanwhile, the poor remain forgotten. People waste thousands on gifts that bring no lasting value while ignoring children who have nothing. Families argue over presents while others cannot afford bread. The world dances under lights while others live in perpetual darkness. This is not spirituality. This is not compassion. This is the result of a system that taught people to celebrate without thinking, to follow without questioning, to spend without caring. But the moment a person wakes up to these truths, everything changes. When you realize that Christmas has almost nothing to do with Jesus, that Santa was crafted to sell products, that billions are spent on items never used while the poor are ignored, that religious empires sit on mountains of gold while preaching humility, your eyes open in a way that cannot be reversed. You begin to see the world not as they want you to see it, but as it truly is. You begin to separate the sacred from the sold, the spiritual from the commercial, the divine from the institutional. You begin to reclaim the message that was supposed to guide humanity, a message buried beneath centuries of profit and control. And this is the moment they fear most. A human being who sees clearly, a person who refuses to be blinded by tradition, who will not bow to a commercial season, who will not worship symbols created by corporations, who will not confuse gold-covered temples with godliness. A person who understands that compassion matters more than consumption, that helping the poor matters more than decorating trees, that truth matters more than ritual, and that spirituality begins inside the heart, not inside the walls of any empire. Because when a mind awakens, it cannot be manipulated. When a heart awakens, it cannot be controlled. And when a soul awakens, no institution, no tradition, no empire built on centuries of wealth can hold that person captive ever again.